Hey guys, what's going on? So one thing I've noticed when I'm building the business and when I'm sponsoring people, and when my downlines are getting people into the business, is people that get into this business, they tend to be different, right? They tend to want something more and they tend to be hungry because it's almost a prerequisite of getting into the business, right? Um, and so we're wired a bit different, okay? And it all comes back to how if you want to get out of the 95%, you need to get into the 5%, right? So you need to be doing the things that the 95% won't do to have the things that the 5% do have, right? So that's pretty self-explanatory. And basically, the people that do get into this business, they realize that they found the best business in the world, right? But they've also realized, the ones that are successful realize that what they do with the business is up to them, right? So I always say, if you're successful in the business and you make millions and millions of dollars, it's your fault, okay? But if you fail in the business and you don't do anything with it, that's also your fault. Because basically, your upline is only responsible for extending the opportunity, which if you're in the business, then they clearly have done that, right? So yeah, they should be giving you information, but if they're not and they're not doing their part, if they're about to quit or whatever, you know, but your upline's only responsibility is to show you the plan, extend the opportunity, and give you the necessary information you need, right? It's not their responsibility for your success. You and me, we're responsible for our own success, right? And so it's unfair to expect our upline to build our business literally for us. If they do anything in our business, it's extra credit. It's not expected and it's not deserved, to be frank. Um, and when you are building the business, one thing I've noticed is that your income will never exceed your personal growth, right? So in traditional like wage systems where you're selling your time for money, which is like any normal job really, it's your education and a higher education which values your time higher, right? And your education level basically kind of determines your income rate, right? But in the business, it's your personal growth rather than your education that determines your income rate, right? And it all comes back to like faking it until you make it, right? So I've explained that before, but it's basically acting and like having the right attitudes that a millionaire would have to have what they have, right? So it's acting like a millionaire to become a millionaire, right? So if you did exactly what Warren Buffett did, you would be in the same financial position as Warren Buffett, right? So it's faking it till you make it, right? And like the most important thing for your personal growth is it's to stay plugged into your upline basically, right? It's CDs, it's books, it's counseling, right? You need to stay with your upline and you need to remain open-minded and teachable. You need to set your ego aside and you need to almost be predictable to your upline. Because if they can't see what you're thinking and if they can't like predict what you're going to do with the information they give you, it limits their ability to influence you and it limits their ability to show you the way drastically, right? And that mitigates them being able to help you basically. So when you're building the business, the important thing to remember is it's not quick cash. It's not a scheme that's going to give you a lifelong amount of money in 2 to 5 weeks. It's a 2 to 5 year plan, right? But it works. And unlike a lot of quick schemes out there, this one's reliable. And if you think about it, 2 to 5 years is quick, right? If it's going to give you the rest of your life back time-wise, it is quick. So yeah, it's a 2 to 5 year plan for passive income to achieve financial freedom, right? And a lot of the time we poke a stick at it, right? We're just like, I'm gonna do something today, and then you do a little bit, and you don't really put much into it, right? And a lot of us like we mess around with it, right? And I always say, if you treat it like a business, you're gonna get results like it's a business. But if you treat it like a hobby, you're gonna get results like it's a hobby, right? Hobbies don't pay, right? Businesses pay. That's basically the main like difference, okay? And a lot of the time when we get deep into the business, like, I don't know, like 12 months into the business and we've not seen the results that we want and we feel like we're not as motivated, we're not doing as much of the right things, that's when you need to revisit the dream, right? Because it probably means that you didn't establish a clear enough vision or destination of where you want to be and what you want to get from the business, right? So you need to revisit that dream and when you are dream building, you need to shoot for the stars, right? Because if you shoot for the stars, you're going to at least hit the sky, right? So you set expectations high and you dream big. And if you fall short, you've still got so much more than the person next to you, right? And you're still way better off than you would have been before the business. And it's an old saying. I think I used to hear it from like my chemistry teacher or something, but it's completely true, right? And for me, it was something as simple as going to a nice restaurant and not looking at the right side of the menu, like the price side of the menu, right? To decide what I'm going to get. It was looking at the left side, because at some point I'd forgotten to look for what I want to eat and what I feel like eating. And I started looking at what I can afford, right? And as soon as you start doing that, you've pretty much lost the point of even going to that restaurant, right? So you need to commit to the business, and you always need a why before you ask the how to, right? So some clerics, they'll just jump into the business and they'll be like, how do I do this, right? But that'll work, but you won't be doing the work with the right attitude, okay? So, and you need the right attitude to get the right results at the right rate. So before you have a how-to, you need a why. You need that dream, and you need it crystal clear so that you can go out with the right attitude, because you know you're going somewhere, right? So commitment to consistency yields emotional continuity. Commitment to consistency yields emotional continuity, right? So basically what that means is if you're committed to doing it and you're not like, you don't wait, you've not gone from the night before, you've not gone, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And then you wake up and you're just like, oh, will I do it, right? You're committing to it. You're staying integral to what you said to yourself, right? You're committing to doing the thing the next day. So when you do that, it takes the guesswork out of how you feel. Because a lot of times in the business, we can go up and we can go down. But by committing to doing the same thing, the right thing every single day, and committing to it 100%, you're going to feel the same way every day, right? It's going to be hard. It's definitely going to be hard. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you will get there. And by committing to it, you won't have these ups and downs, which can be honestly debilitating, right? And a lot of when we're out contacting and stuff comes back to attitude, right? You need to be going out with a good attitude, because what happens if you go out with a bad attitude is people can feel that in your enthusiasm and how you talk to them, right? And they're less likely to get into the business, which means you're going to have a worse result, which means you're going to have a worse attitude, because you've spent like 6 hours contacting and you got one lead, right? So you're going to have a worse attitude, and then you're going to go out with that worse attitude and you're going to do the same thing. And that's just going to repeat itself basically, right? And you can understand why if that repeats itself, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse until you probably quit, because you're getting absolutely no results by the end of it, right? So it's important that you get your attitude right before you expect any results, okay? And attitude comes back to doing like the CDs, the books, counseling with your upline, being around your group and associating, right? All that stuff really helps your attitude, and it really lends to your enthusiasm, and people really they feel that. They feel your energy through the way you talk and how you talk to them. It's not just about like words you say. Like I'm pretty sure the words that you speak is like 3% of communication, right? The rest is like your tone, your enunciation, fluxion, like facial like cues, hands, body language. All that stuff makes up so much more of communication than that little 3%, which is the words that you say, right? And so attitude makes that 97%, I wouldn't say an afterthought, but it makes it so you don't have to think about it as much, right? So that you can focus on the words you say. Because the words you say is pretty much how you express the 97% out, right? And so your attitude, you can understand why your attitude would be incredibly important, right? So I've said CDs, books, and association, right? But basically your reality is your perception, right? So if you think contacting's scary, then it's going to be scary, right? But if you can find a way to make it exciting, playing like a game with yourself or the person you're contacting with, it becomes fun. It's no longer scary. You're just like, let's see how many times I can get rejected. Let's go, you know? But obviously that's not the goal, but it's fun to like, if you make it fun, it will be fun basically, right? And a good way to foster the right attitude is by manifesting an ownership attitude rather than show up attitude, right? So when I was working at like a retail store a while ago, I used to just show up. I didn't necessarily show up on time because I didn't get disciplined for not showing up on time. So I would just show up, and I would finish at 9. By 8:50, I was like getting everything ready to leave, right? And I was basically like looking busy so I couldn't get in trouble, but I was waiting to leave. And that was a show up attitude, right? But as soon as you take responsibility and ownership for where you're going, you have a different outlook and you have different results because of that different outlook, right? And basically, you need to manifest this through like just becoming an IBO is a great way to start manifesting it, because it makes you realize that you're out on your own and you're doing this for you. You're not doing this for some multi-billion-dollar international conglomerate to make money off you, right? So you need to manifest the ownership attitude over the show up attitude, right? And it's important that you manifest the ownership attitude because leaders will always go above and beyond what's expected, right? Like if you look at any leader, they've done more than what the standard has been set at, and that's why they're a leader. And if you're not interested in being a leader, you're kind of in the wrong business. Because if you're not already a leader, then you're going to be soon when you sponsor a downline and you have to lead them, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about building the dream, right? So it's easy to conceive of a dream, right? So it's easy to be like, I want to be a millionaire. But building beliefs that you're going to get there is a lot harder. And that starts with a belief in the business, and it starts with a belief in your upline, okay? So it's easy to conceive of a dream, but really like plugging into your upline and understanding that they're making a profit and you can make a profit and millions of other people have already made a profit means that you can believe it through the system and through the business, right? And if I've noticed one thing over the years of building the business, the difference between the people who make it, the people who are successful and have that income with their time, with the time, the people that have that and the difference between the people that don't have it is the dream. The people that don't have it, you can honestly tell by looking at their body language sometimes. They're negative, they're slouching, their hands are in their pockets, they're like shy, they're not committed because they don't have anything to commit to, right? They're committing to the work without committing to like the result, basically, okay? And that has been the key difference with the people I've seen succeed and the people I've seen fail, is that the ones that fail don't have a dream. They just don't, and they haven't built it enough. They might have thought they built it enough, but this is like a helpful hint. If you feel like you've built your dream enough, but you're going out and you're struggling to go out and you're struggling to be motivated and do the right things, then you haven't built your dream enough. You just haven't, okay? And that's a reminder to you that you need to go back and you need to make that crystal clear. You need to find that thing that motivates you, okay? And usually the thing that's the most motivating is an emotional thing. It's not a materialistic thing. It's not going to be a Ferrari. It's different for everyone, but you need to find it, okay? So just some last thoughts is it's easy to build if you have a dream, okay? The business is the easiest thing in the world to build if you know where you're going to go with the business, okay? Because the work stays done. The work stays done. It's not work that you have to come in and do over and over again to get that money. The work stays done. So it's easy to build it that one time if you know where you're going with it, right? And if you don't think it is, then you don't have that dream. I've said it before, but it's worth saying again. You just don't have that dream. If you think you do, and you're having a hard time, then you clearly don't, and you need to revisit it. You need to talk to your upline. You need to find out what you are doing wrong, and you need to correct it. Okay? Sweet. Have a good night, guys.